Good morning, everyone. Welcome to part 4 of Mavenspire's series on AI in the mid-market. Today's topic, we're going to start delving into AI platforms and specifically the software layer of those platforms for those business-specific AI applications, like really the true way that you can kind of build AI to do something specific for your business that's unique to your business. Now, just a quick reminder, as I mentioned, this is part 4 of a series. Part 1, we talked about why you would even want to do AI. Part 2, we talked about who should be at the table for AI. I think that's a pretty interesting session, and I encourage people, if you haven't seen it, to go back and look at it in our YouTube channel, because it's not IT, just so we're clear. These kinds of changes have to happen across an entire organization. In part 3, we talked about the economics of AI. I've talked to many people, and they're all scared that they're going to go bankrupt trying to do AI. And so we talked about the components of cost with AI and how to make it affordable for anyone. And that brings us to part 4, where in this series, what we have said is there are kind of 3 kinds of AI. There's personal productivity AI. There's application integrated AI. And then there are AI platforms. So this session is specifically talking about the last one, AI platforms. How do you build them? And we have this session to talk about the software layer, and the next one to talk about the hardware layer. So without further ado, today I have a subject matter specialist with me, Caden. Caden, would you mind introducing yourself? And then I know that you have some amazing demos today, and would you mind sharing with us all?
Fantastic. Thank you for the introduction, Michael. So a little bit about myself. My name is Caden Bradbury. I am an AI solutions architect at Arrow. I am supplier agnostic. So a lot of what I do is, by its nature, AI is a multi-vendor solution. You need compute, GPUs, that AI platform piece that we're going to be focusing on today, storage, governance, security, all these things need to be stitched together and combined to create one AI solution. A lot of what I do focuses on enablement, education, building demos, which you'll see today, and then the hardware to make that all happen, which will be next session, like Michael mentioned. I want to thank Mavenspire for hosting me today. I'm very excited to show you a couple demos in Dataiku, this robust AI platform. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'll share a couple slides to kind of introduce Dataiku, and then we'll go straight to demos after that. All right, fantastic. So again, today we will be covering AI platforms with a specific focus on Dataiku's universal AI platform. Quick agenda. No, we've discussed this in previous sessions, but just kind of want to set the stage with, AI. Obviously, it is taking the market by storm. It's kind of adapt to survive in this new AI landscape. So we'll talk about some of those risks and how we can translate risks into opportunity with Dataiku. Go over kind of the AI platform at a high level before delving into the demo, just so you kind of understand what's the value of it. Quickly talk about the AI solution stack with Dataiku plus Dell infrastructure. Know that's next session as well, so won't spend too much time there. And then I have several demos in Dataiku focused on various value adds and processes that are done in AI. I think one is loading your data, ingesting that data, transforming that data through data preparation, doing some traditional machine learning models to predict certain values. For example, maybe you're a retail company, you have a bunch of data in a CRM, in a web tool as well that tracks what user behavior looks like. How can we predict sales for next month? Something like that kind of. And then we'll talk a little bit about Gen AI, how you can, instead of just using Gen AI, think your classic ChatGPT interface, how can you actually ingrain that into your data workflows and use your model as a tool rather than just a feature? And then the last demo will be building an agent. That one is probably the most exciting. And I will preface that all of these demos, you don't need to be a data scientist. You don't need AI expertise. If you're familiar with, Excel spreadsheets, that's kind of the technology barrier for Dataiku. That's the massive value of it, is it's no code, low code, and high code if you need it as well. And then, like I said, we're going to go into all those demos. So, like I said, it goes without saying, AI has taken over the world by storm. Looking back, it feels like one of those turning points in technology, similar to the inception of the internet, or in more recent years, cloud. So it's kind of scary. There's a lot of risk involved with, creating an AI practice. And I'm just going to go over some of the needed components, what's going to happen when you start to implement AI. A couple features here. So what does AI mean? It means that there's more users. These people need to be trained, manage, and coordinate to ensure AI success. Massively, I'm a huge advocate for data-centric AI. Your data product is only as good as the data that you feed it. So with AI, there's going to be a demand for more data than ever. That data is going to need to be aggregated, manipulated. You're going to have to store, catalog, and make sure all of that is secure as well. Governance, you are going to need to have governance. By its nature, machine learning models and LLMs are unpredictable. The way that they generate tokens, the way that they generate responses, they are not as simple as traditional technology. So there's new governance techniques to ensure regulatory compliance and align with business objectives, business governance that's needed. Think logging of prompts, logging of response, setting guardrails on what kind of answers those models can provide your end users, things of that nature. And then lastly, there's going to be new technology as well. The really revelation and the revolution, I guess, of the GPU is massively driving AI, and it feels like that was kind of the first step that supercharged us into AI. But AI was only really accessible for those teams that had deep expertise in machine learning, AI frameworks. So all of this new technology is overwhelming, and that's kind of where AI platforms come into play to help obfuscate that, make it much more user-friendly. So now with Dataiku's platform, let's translate some of these risks into opportunity here. So for your people, you are going to need a place where everyone can collaborate regardless of their skill level. You want to empower those domain experts that know the most about their business. Think those chief of analytics and marketing, HR, finance. You want to empower them with AI capabilities rather than just having a data scientist on the back end who doesn't fully understand the business. And everyone should have a single platform, a common grammar for them to collaborate in. So that main problem with data is being generated from many applications, and oftentimes it's not clean. It's living in different places, some cloud, on-prem. So being able to keep that data where it is, so you're not spending a lot of money on new data housing infrastructure. So you want to leverage that data where it's at, but expand access to that team of data scientists or team of those domain experts that will be using the AI, and you want to do that securely. Governance, you want to ensure end-to-end governance from business objective to data prep and versioning to the outputs of those models as well. A lot of regulatory compliance coming out right now. Think HIPAA, want to make sure we're compliant with HIPAA if you're kind of in the healthcare space, or the EU AI Act as well, which, there's word that may be trickling down another version of that for the US as well. So want to ensure that governance requirements are in place out of the box. And then as far as adopting new technology, stay with that technology that you're already familiar with, but use that with AI. Be able to connect to that easily, but also adjust on the fly as new AI technology, new models, new data warehousing, data lake architecture is constantly evolving. So being able to be flexible is key. So this brings us to Datahiku's platform. Hint, hint, it does address all of these risks and helps translate them into opportunity, like I mentioned. So with Datahiku's platform, you get one platform for teams, the ones that are both building and consuming AI applications, to again all share that common grammar, that single platform, regardless of their skill level. You have no code environments, which is GUI based, drag and drop. Low code for I just want to spin up a Jupyter notebook to do this one simple task, or full code. I just want to be in the command line all day and do AI like I would with those open source applications, think LangChain, things like that. As far as the data strategy goes, want to support all types of data, and wherever it resides, we want to be able to leverage that data and not have to move it and store it in new locations. Data governance, we want to have data governance from all steps, the entire data lifecycle, from business objective to data preparation, to logging those response from the models, all through that. And again, aligning to those industry governance regulations as well, like I mentioned, HIPAA and the AI EU Act, just to name a few. And then again, let's use your existing technology, that Dell infrastructure you have on-prem, cloud infrastructure, any models that you want to leverage and pull in, any GPT models, wide range of models. You'll see all this in the demo, but we want to be able to leverage our existing technology as much as we can. And I'll go through these, but just a little deeper dive on each of these subjects here. So meet your people where you're at. You have that low code, no code, full code, different views and platforms for both the ones building the application and the ones consuming it, and then leverage that infrastructure without reskilling. It's a very intuitive platform. Like I said, if you are familiar with Excel spreadsheets, you can take a couple quick classes and you'll be up to speed. Grounding your AI in your data. So Dataiku works with any format of data, structured tabular data, unstructured data like images and documents, and then vectors and embeddings. Vectors and embeddings essentially take unstructured data and make it usable by an LLM. Think for RAG, you will have to do that step. Dataiku takes care of that step. Often that can be a bit complex. Keep your data where it is. Migrate anytime. Like I said, all of these data sources are supported out of the box. We'll go through the connections in the demo, but you do not need to move your data. Keep it where it is. Look at it with Dataiku and manipulate it with Dataiku. And then you get access to more data, but those security features within Dataiku really enhance security rather than take security away when you think about being able to access all of these applications, all of these data sources. Full governance lifecycle. So you'll see these flows. These flows are like I mentioned, that common grammar that you can have multiple team members collaborate in. So you can have your data scientists doing some of these Python scripts while you have your domain experts doing some cleaning with visual recipes, and in the end, you end up getting an AI product. So you'll have that governance, logging, observability throughout that entire pipeline. Also mentioned guardrail control. I've kind of touched on that with controlling what those models are being used for, monitoring what users are querying those models for, seeing kind of what the rate, the adoption of your AI product that you create with the platform is. And it really unites data ops, machine learning ops, and LLM ops in what Dataiku calls XOps. And then these regulatory compliant templates. So these are pre-built into Dataiku. You can spin them up. Like I said, HIPAA is supported. There's a wide range of them. The EU AI Act, like I said, that's the European Union AI Act. That's kind of their governance, their framework around AI. And something similar is coming to the US. Talks of it we'll see pretty soon here. So want to be ready for that when that happens. Technology interoperability, flexible infrastructure. So, whatever infrastructure you want to run this on. In the next session, when you learn about hardware, all of this has a pre-built architecture out of the box that uses Dell servers to host a model on NVIDIA GPUs. So this can be on-prem. Want to ensure that Dataiku is completely agnostic when it comes to technology. Any of the Gen AI models or services that you wish to use, these are just some here. Again, I'll show kind of all the connections, all the options you have. And then, Dataiku is constantly publishing new connections, plugin types. So as technology continues to mature, what's the next thing? Dataiku will probably be publishing a connection, making it really easy to start using that technology within Dataiku. So just bringing it all together here. I know, bear with me, we're getting to the demo soon, but just want to give some context before. What does Dataiku excel in? One is the input, so getting those data sources from diverse sources, getting them in one single pane of glass that you can manipulate. The actual platform itself is friendly to both coders and non-coders. It can be completely visual-based, coding, infuse Gen AI, connect to a model, start using it right away. Those pipelines, like I showed before, are clear and transparent, and they can be reused for different use cases. So it's that common grammar. And then what's really powerful is the collaboration between IT and the builders, the technical folks, with the domain experts. When you combine, I have deep business expertise and I have deep technology expertise. That is really where the magic happens with AI and AI platforms. And then you don't need to be an expert in too many tools. Being able to simplify tool management through consolidation, one platform to still use all those tools that you already have. It's less upskilling and less work to get started with AI.
Hey, Caden.
Go ahead,
I had a
Michael.
quick question.
Sure,
I was sitting here
please.
and I was listening, and it occurred to me that maybe we made that classic mistake where all of us have conversations outside of this meeting where we talk about a lot of different stuff. I don't think we really said why we chose today for this mid-market presentation to talk about Dataiku. And I think that this slide is actually a great one to have that conversation, which is we wanted to pick something of all the platforms out there. We wanted to pick something that included the entire process of AI. We talk a lot about how bad data in equals bad data out, but we don't talk about necessarily platforms that have something to do about that, like that build in the functionality to clean up the data, to do the ETL. Like if we were comparing this to, like, say, NVIDIA's Enterprise Studio, I don't think people would generally know that NVIDIA doesn't do that, right? It focuses more on the actual processing engine and how to get LLMs in and how to train them, whereas this one is kind of a broader perspective. So, and one of the things I want to be sensitive of is that this audience can be a little skittish about AI platforms because they don't necessarily have ML engineers or data scientists on staff. What they have is people who know a line of business, know their process, and potentially know something about their data, and they're looking for something to help them turn that into magic and get to AI. How does this platform help those people?
No, thank you for interrupting. That's a great observation. I think for that kind of mid-market, I see so many customers that don't have a full team of data scientists. Not many do, really, or the expertise in those kind of full code AI platforms. So the value of Dataiku here is it is really the platform for everyday AI. Being able to quickly spin up projects. There's tons of pre-built templates. Think on like fraud detection. They also have a couple on like how do we predict retail. So it's all aligned to all these verticals that you can quickly get started with. So it's really the ease of use and leverage the technology that you already have.
So it is really a time to value play, right? Where This is a platform that's trying to not just make it accessible, but literally, if you know the problem you're trying to solve, it's going to help you get there in a short period of time so that you can actually start using AI and see if the outcome is what is the success you need to drive your business. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think that's well put. Much
Awesome,
quicker
thank you.
time to value with AI. I 100% agree. So a couple more points, and then let's get right into the demo. I think everything starts clicking with the demo, but architecture, completely agnostic, choose your infrastructure. We have that Dell pre-built architecture as well. And then all those governance templates that I mentioned, those as well wrapped around the entire process. Don't want to spend too much time here, but just want to show that Dataiku is industry validated. And it's great for those product owner use cases. You see it, maybe it scores a little bit lower on the data scientist use case, which just emphasizes it is great for that kind of mid-market customer looking to build out their AI practice, don't have a full team of data scientists, but want to get quick value, quick wins with AI. And I mean, I'll show you, I have an agentic demo, and you can spin up a pretty simple agent with no coding experience at all. And it's very easy to do and pretty impactful. So I'm excited to show that. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to switch over to our demo environment. If anyone has any questions, I'll also check chat here and switch over to my demo screen. Okay, great. So this is the Dataiku platform. I'll kind of walk you through some of the features of the platform to get started, and then we'll talk about what some of these demos are doing. So just to start, you kind of have your space full of your projects here. All of this can be enforced with role-based access control as well. So some people are building, some are consuming, some are just monitoring the space. So all of these demos that I show could be used in conjunction to solve one business use case. I'll show what that looks like in the terms of that credit card example that I mentioned earlier, as well as a retail one. But just to kind of get those core capabilities down, the really value of loading and prepping data, the value of being able to train machine learning models without coding whatsoever and compare those models, evaluate them, being able to use Gen AI as a tool rather than use Gen AI just as that simple chatbot. You can actually infuse that to do some data manipulation. And then lastly, we'll be showing the agentic demo as well. That'll be kind of the highlight. So this is just focused on data preparation here. Before I kind of go into what's going on here, I want to show how easy it is to start moving your data in. So when you say add a new item here, you can connect or create here. So these are all of the pre-built connections that Dataiku has that you can read from and write to as well. So they will all just pop up like one of these little blue squares here, and then you can start leveraging that with all of Dataiku's capabilities, which we'll also be talking about. So tons of different services here. Most of these are pretty common enterprise applications. However, you can also build some custom connections as well with relatively low effort. Just show you what that looks like. So if you go into Snowflake, you want to create a new connection. Over here, we have all our connections again. Snowflake, you don't need too many details, really. You really just need to fill out some of this basic information that would be existing within your Snowflake database and test it, create it, and it's good to go. So just wanted to show that piece there. And now we'll talk a little bit about once that data is loaded. Right now, these are living locally on my Dataiku server. Could be Dell infrastructure as well. That works just fine as well. So when you have a data set, Dataiku will load the first 10,000 rows of that data set, and it feels and looks just like an Excel spreadsheet, which is kind of why I said if you have familiarity on what an Excel spreadsheet looks like, you have some familiarity on what Dataiku can do. So great, just click right in. This can be hosted anywhere again, and you can kind of start to visualize and see what your data looks like here. So in this case, we have a couple different data sets. We want to combine them together. These are all focused on CO2 emissions. So if you're an energy company, for example, you might be interested in CO2 emissions to maybe adjust when do we need to provide more resiliency on the power grid, something like that. So once you have these data sets here, you can go ahead and add recipes. And recipes are what Dataiku does to manipulate data or infuse it with large language models. So visual recipes, all of these are no-code recipes that allow you to manipulate, combine data, clean data, all of which is necessary to build machine learning models and use data for against an LLM, a large language model as well. I will also call out there are these code recipes. So if a team is looking to have that low code or high code experience, you can also just add a Jupyter notebook just like that. And then lastly, these LLM recipes, we'll talk about these in the Gen AI model, but you can also leverage all of these to make your large language model that you have living in GPU infrastructure, and you can make it do some several tasks to help with that cleaning process. So in this case, we have these three data sets. We're going to go ahead and use one of those join recipes. We'll join it on some common entities here. So we're joining all these up. It's still pretty messy, so we're going to need to clean more, but we have joined all three of those data sets into one data set. So let's go ahead and clean this. All of these are the steps to clean. Let's create some columns here that are going to, we have a bunch of data that's essentially this country emitted this total CO2 in a year. So let's, do some manipulation here, change that to per capita, how much did everyone do? Just taking that total and dividing it by population. So pretty simple function there, just to create a new column, make it more relevant. So we go ahead and prep that data. We've done that manipulation, added columns, got rid of all the columns we don't need. And then we're going to go ahead and rank that data. So let's go ahead and see what were the top emitting CO2 companies. So we can go through that process. We're doing a little more cleaning here. And then eventually we have our final data set. Here's our product. And then kind of on the analytics piece, you can take your data and go ahead and make a chart of it. So here's just a chart from that data set that we were using. We can visualize that, and then we can go ahead and publish this to a dashboard as well for all business stakeholders to see. So that's kind of a quick run through of how you can combine data sets, clean those data sets, create new columns within those data sets, some additional features, and then finally take those insights, that data prep process, and create a final data set and visualize it, publish that for everyone to see. So again, that's kind of the first step in an initial piece to start using machine learning and AI. Dataiku is a really powerful platform for aggregating data sources and manipulating them, which is a pretty key differentiator there and needed for AI, as well as just traditional analytics. Still important, still very relevant. Okay. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about how easy it is to train a machine learning model. So this is not Gen AI yet. We will be getting to Gen AI shortly, but traditional machine learning models are still very widely adopted. If you think anything where you're needing to predict something, predict a number, or classify, predict a yes or no, that is traditional machine learning. So fraud detection, for example, on credit card fraud, taking all of those features of that data and determining, yes, this was fraud, no, this was not fraud. That's not Gen AI, that is just traditional machine learning. You can wrap Gen AI on top of that to maybe help generate a report about that, but that machine learning piece is critical, and Dataiku supports that. So in this case, a good amount of SLED customers may be wanting. I've seen a couple projects specifically on this where, hey, we have a bunch of student data. We want to leverage that to predict will a student have to repeat a grade, and give me an email if they are not performing as well as they should be. Kind of what are those key alerts? So that's what this one is about. I'll show one where everything's combined in a retail use case, but this is a good one for just looking at kind of what's going on with this machine learning model here. So again, we can easily just click in, look at all of our data. Okay, each row is a student in this case, and with some features about them. How far are they away from their school? What's their travel time here? Who do they live with? Do they do any outside activities? Do they have internet access? Things like that. So lots of data. We're not sure what's going to be important in our model yet, but we're going to go ahead and split that into train and test. Easy function. We can just go ahead and split those out. Again, this is all no code. So in this case, we went ahead and we just used one of those recipes. I will show that over here. We can use some of these recipes here to go ahead and do that in a no-code environment. So let's see if we can train this data. We're going to do some splitting here. What model name do we want to call it? This isn't really too important yet, but this is really where the magic happens. So when you go ahead and find that model here, you can click into it and decide what model you want to use. So let's find that model. Just a sec. This one. Okay, so we went and found that model here. And here are some common algorithms for machine learning. You don't have to know too much about each of them, but that's how easy it is to specify what algorithm you would like to try out, and it will try that and compare it and will go with the best option. So you don't need to understand about how each of these models are working. It's just as simple as clicking them off and on. So in this case, like maybe we want to compare these two models. Again, we don't really need to know too much about how they actually work under the hood, but let's just see how they perform against our data. So we go ahead and we compare them, and it seems like both of them are pretty good. They're performing at 90% accuracy. This one's a little better. So let's use this one in production here. So we go ahead and do that. We have our crowned model. That's the one we're going to go with. And eventually, we go through here and we can predict how many students will pass and how many students will have to repeat the grade. Do some analytics to see how correct it is, but for the most part, our model is performing pretty well here. Most of these are correct. Last thing I will show is it's interesting to see kind of which features were most important in influencing this. So in this case, school and failures, if they failed a class previously, were the two largest factors in if they will have to repeat a grade. So that's kind of how simple it is to start using machine learning to train those models yourself. And showing you what that looks like here in a retail example. So this is combining some of the web data, the web created data. So people clicked on this website at this time with the CRM data here. These are historical, but we took last month's data, we cleaned the data set with both the data generated from the web, data generated from a CRM tool. We enriched those a little bit, cleaned them, and then we ended up creating a model to predict the revenue. So the revenue was known here, and then we are feeding it new customers to predict what that final revenue will look like. So we have our prediction here. Couple points as well that influence that. Those are features. You don't need to do complex feature engineering. That's all kind of taken care of in Dataiku in that no-code environment. So we can predict what we think each of these customers will be spending on T-shirts in a retail use case. Okay, any questions before I move on to the Gen AI side of things? I know Gen AI is a little more exciting, but these are kind of some core capabilities of Dataiku that are important to use before you get into Gen AI. All right, I will go ahead and keep moving here then. Okay, so here is a Gen AI demo. Again, Dataiku does support, hey, let's connect to a model and let's build a chat interface for users to query it. Think just like ChatGPT, private ChatGPT. It can do that, but wanted to show this off because I think it's a little more impactful and shows that you can use that model as a tool. So before I get into that, I just want to show you how easy it is to connect to an LLM of your choice. So we go to administration here, connections, where we can connect to all of those data sources. We can also connect to a variety of models. These could be in the cloud, but they could be on-prem as well. Like next week, you'll learn about Dell's AI Factory, which would also be supported here. But this LLM mesh, you have access to all of these different providers for LLMs. You don't really need to train or fine tune an LLM right now. Being able to just use it for inference, infuse it with your own data, use it as a tool, that's really the low-hanging fruit and much more impactful, especially in that kind of mid-market, like Michael was saying earlier. So let's go ahead and go to a connection. Here, I've just defined a connection. This, like I said, could be on-premise, but here's just a quick connection, kind of what you need. You just need your API key, the resource name, specify some of the models you want to use. This is the foundational model, the LLM that I'm going to be using. I also included a text embedding model, which takes that unstructured data, puts it into a vector database. While you're here, you can allow fine tuning if you want to do some fine tuning of that model with your proprietary data at a later point. Dataiku does support fine tuning. Some security settings, so you can ensure only people that you want have access to this model, and you might have multiple models that you want to give to different teams. So you can create that security, that role-based access control right here. Both on the usable piece, but also the readable piece as well. So who can check this? You might want to give this to an analyst while you give this to consumers. Some additional usage controls here. You can write all completion trations to all of that text that's generated by that LLM. You can send that to an audit log. Will increase size, but when an LLM makes a decision or says something, you might want to have that all logged and traceable and observable in the future. Guardrails as well. We talked a little bit about this, but you might want to specify what this model can output. So toxic terms, probably don't want those. Forbidden terms, you can actually specify specific words you do not want it to output. Personal identifiable information detectors, so making sure it won't, this is kind of automated, it won't say any full names, social security numbers, phone numbers, addresses, things like that. Prompt injection, that's kind of just an add-on to detect if someone is doing a malicious attack on your LLM with prompt injection. And then some formatting checker. That's making sure everything's formatted how you specify. Yeah, so then you can go ahead and test it, make sure it's working. Connection is good, and then you know you're good to go. This is now a tool that we can use in our flow. So back to our machine learning demo, our Gen AI demo. Let's see, I think it was this one. Oop. There it is. Okay, so we're starting with a data set here. This is TripAdvisor hotel reviews. So I think this could be Yelp reviews, product reviews for retail, for example. But essentially it's a data set full of what someone had to say in their review and the rating they gave it. And then we just have an index as well here. So let's go ahead and use our LLM and the logic that LLM has to do some additional analytics, some additional manipulation. So the first step, we're going to go ahead and create this with one of those recipes, and this is going to be a classification recipe. So when you create an LLM recipe, you choose that LLM that you want. Here's kind of the catalog of LLMs that we have. I'll use this OpenAI one, but again, this would also, that self-hosted GPU accelerated model, possibly on Dell infrastructure, would also live here as well. So you go ahead and specify your model that you want to connect to. You're going to pick that column that you want it to be infused with or manipulate. In that case, it's review, which was the large text of hotel reviews. Like I said, it could be other reviews as well. And then using the LLM's logic, these could be any class we want, but the LLM will interpret them and assign that text to these classes just based on natural language understanding. So these could be any class, but let's just say, let's classify these as positive, negative, or a neutral review. We can also add examples as well. So we can tell it how we would want it to respond. That's helpful a lot of times for ensuring that formatting is how you want it to be, since, like I said earlier, LLMs are inherently unpredictable. And then you can also do explain its choice as well for logging. If you have that LLM make a decision, you might want it to have an explanation of why it made that decision. So that will make that model explain its reasoning behind the scenes and input that into another column. So back to the flow, we configured that. And that went ahead and added a new column here. And now it has, based on our review, was this positive, negative, or neutral? You can see just a high level look. It's looking pretty accurate. Positive, positive, negative with the 2 makes sense. Negative with the 2. So that can help you do some additional analytics. You could visualize this later. For example, how many are just positive, negative, neutral? We don't really care from the 1 to 5 scale. Okay, next, now that we did that, those reviews are often pretty lengthy. And if we're an analyst that wants to read through some of those reviews, that might be pretty time consuming. So why don't we just use that model again to read those reviews and give us a quick summary. So again, we're going to use that review column that we have, and we're going to give the language that we want. This could be a different language, but just English for now. And then we can specify the desired max output length. So we could tell it, we want this review, this lengthy rant that someone wrote about their hotel trip. Let's summarize that down to just 2 sentences to speed up our analytic process a little bit. We could even put this to 2 words. That might be, really distilling that review down, but 2 sentences seems like a good spot as well. So we go ahead, run that through there. And then we have an additional summary here in 2 sentences, a little more concise, easier to analyze, not as many spelling errors, and not as big of a rant here. As you can see, the person had a pretty negative review here. Okay, next, we'll quickly do a summarization technique here, or translation, I mean. So we're going to take that translated message and we're going to just we have some analysts in South America that also would like to be able to see these reviews as well. So this is all done through just prompt engineering. Just tell it, translate the text from English to Spanish and don't change the underlying meaning. We're going to take that review summary that we already created, and we're going to create a new column with the Spanish translation. So a couple more features here that you can specify. For now, we're just going to leave those blank. Guardrails, we can put those same guardrails at this level as well, and add explicit forbidden terms as well. I'm going to save that. And then lastly, we're going to go ahead and summarize the Spanish. Now we have our summary here and our summary in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, so if anyone speaks Spanish and could confirm that they are translated, that would be great. No, I'm kidding. They are translated. Okay, so that concludes kind of how you can use it as a tool to do some analytics. You could go ahead and visualize this data, generate it in a report, things like that. But just want to show you how you can use that LLM in your workflow. We have about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to finally go through the agent, kind of the highlight here, and then we will conclude. So this is a very simple agent. I want to show how easy it is in Dataiku to build an agent. So in this case, we are going to be targeting a tech update for C-level executives. So they don't have time to go read all the news, Gen AI, deep learning, machine learning. It's changing so rapidly. And there's all these articles out in Medium, which is a popular blog that publishes regularly on these topics. So they don't have time to go read all these. Let's just have them get a report every morning in their Slack channel that tells them what's the hottest news and gives them the option to go read more if they're interested. So we have all of these articles here. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but we're going to take that text column and we're going to embed that, turn it into a format that can be leveraged by a large language model or an agent in this case. So we have our text. We also want to include the metadata columns of the URL so they can go click into that. The timestamp, so they know this is really what came out today. What is the most recent? We're going to use that as a little bit of metadata to give that agent a little more context. So that was the first step. We just embedded that, got it ready to use. Here's our embeddings. So an agent is really an LLM's logic, but giving it access to tools and instructions to go manipulate new things. Dataiku has a ton of pre-built agents here. It can go ahead and reach in a data set and look up several columns, search a knowledge bank, which is what we are going to be doing. It can call to another one of those LLMs that you have in your mesh that you've added. It can even write to a data set. It can send a message through email, Slack, Teams. We'll be showing through Slack today. And it can even predict a model like those machine learning models that we trained earlier. It can go ahead and use one of those to predict a model, give it back to you in natural language. Also a calculator. There's been a lot of things like how you ask an LLM, like how many R's are in strawberry, and it can't get that right because it's just inferring the next word. It can't actually do calculations. So just giving a calculator is pretty helpful. So we configured 2 tools here. One is let it go and search that knowledge bank of all those articles that we created earlier. So we tell it, here's the knowledge bank. It has all these Medium websites about AI, machine learning industry. Each article has that text title URL. When you retrieve it, pull in 4 documents. So we're going to send 4 of the most relevant documents to that C-level. Doesn't have time to read through all of them. What is that metadata? The title, the URL. We want that response to have that title with the URL they can go click. You can easily go and test it here, and run a little short on time, so it won't show that piece. So that was one tool we created. Next, we're going to send a message. So integration type with Slack. We're going to use this incoming webhook, can also do with APIs, again, email, Teams, lots of other supported formats. Just input this webhook that we created, and now it has the ability to go and send a message in Slack. So we just gave it the tools, and now we go over to agents in GenAI. Now we've created our agent. Lots of versioning here, but here's the first version. So what's that large language model that's going to do the reasoning? What's the brain of our agent? What is the prompt? What is this agent's job? Your helpful assistant helping retrieve, summarize industry knowledge, basically. So you tell it, do the following things. Search the articles of the knowledge bank focused on topic, generate a concise summary, and then send that Slack message containing the summarized findings. And that's literally all that the agent needs from instructions. And you give it access to these tools, and it'll plan, reason, and perform those actions that you told it to do. There's no like extra configuration. You're just using natural language to tell what this agent should be responsible for. We give it tools. We want that search tool. That's how you go find the knowledge. Send the Slack. That is how you send the message to Slack. And it'll figure out which tools to use when. So then lastly, we'll go to our Prompt Studio here. So let's just chat with the agent. This is a good testing ground. This is where you kind of set up your ChatGPT style topic, but we're going to talk to our agent actually. So we just asked it, what is the latest news on deep learning? And it said, I've shared the latest deep learning summary for Slack stakeholders. Let me know if you want further research. And it did. I'll confirm that, but I'll also type it again just so you can see it come in real time. So what's the latest on deep learning? And then here's the response from earlier. It said most recent finds, a couple topics, easily click in and go read more here. Just thinking a little bit. So it'll go ahead and publish these. You can ask it to summarize here. Please give me a summary here. You have a summary right in our chat here. And what is the weather in Paris today? Can't get that direct. That's not my job, basically. And if you want to go find the weather, go use these websites here. And this takes a little bit because I have a relatively small model for our demo environment. Last thing I want to show is this is what it would look like in production. Lots of data prep to model training to sending alerts. This is kind of a full-scale Dataiku environment. This is a template you could use, start plugging your data in today and use. So I know we got about 4 minutes. Michael, anything on your side? I see you came on camera.
Yeah, no, I wanted to highlight that. So your agent demo was actually sort of funny because, Maven Spire talks about 3 kinds of AI. We talk about the personal productivity and the application integrated and the platform AI. The agent demo you did was actually a demo of how to build personal productivity, right? It was,
yeah.
I have my little AI that pops up every morning and reads me back my schedule for the day, or tries to integrate what the weather is going to be like without meetings that I have to go to figure out if I need more drive time or whatever. But that's essentially what that agent was. Like, you gave it a set of data, in this case, news articles. It could have been a calendar just as easily, or the weather report just as easily. And you created something to set and forget that would talk to you, either in a chat form or just pop it out to Slack that, gave you that sort of updating. So that, it really does show how this is a full-fledged platform like the ones you buy doing other products, and how hard it is to actually build out those agents. Now, I'm sure it's not quite that easy to build out a full productivity agent, but But at
Sure.
least that was it was a great, I mean, you could give it any knowledge base, right? You could give it all the tickets that came in yesterday that people had to solve, or the top sales things that happened yesterday that people, if you wanted to hear about the top deals of the day, like really
Yes.
anywhere where you have KPI based data, that's a good agentic example of it doing a summarization. And then your larger demo, that last picture was amazing because we're big believers in taking big problems and breaking them down. I think the platform kind of does that, right? We
Yeah.
did this big thing, but you took it one step at a time where you had to start with the data. And how do you get the data in, and how do you clean it up and make it for the application you want to use it? And then there's this kind of big joke right now about how 90% of AI projects are actually like automation projects that don't need AI. So you showed the machine learning side of it, where, we're training on how to do repetitive tasks and do them better, faster and accurately within the same platform. And then you stepped it up to show how, AI isn't just a destination, it's a tool within. So you showed how to use AI within the tool to do things like the universal translator, or to be able to go pull data and feed it into the process. And then finally you showed like, let's make a product that is AI back to our agentic. So man, you got a lot done in a short period of time. I mean, I know you had kind of pre-prepped some of the stuff, but it still moved pretty quick. And as a platform, it shows, it's a testament to how people are really engaging in the AI industry, that they're building stuff like this, and that this is but one of thousands of efforts by different companies and individuals to try to solve this problem of how do you make it approachable and easy for anyone. Of course, the anyone could be a coder, or the anyone could be someone who's never touched code in their life, and that's even harder to build something that works for both.
100% agree.
But
That's
amazing
a
demo.
great summary. Great summary.
Wow, I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. I don't see any questions have come in. Um, truthfully, my sense is sometimes people are stunned by the information, but um, I love the way you broke it up. I think, what we might do is build some of those out separately for some of our customers to kind of get comfortable with each stage. Because I don't know that data
Yeah.
cleansing is a skill that everyone is approached in that way. I think if you ask the typical spreadsheet user if they've ever had junky spreadsheets that they had to clean up, then they'll say, "Oh yeah, let me tell you a story about how much adult beverages I needed at the end of the day after doing this project," right? But when you
Yeah.
call it data cleansing or you call it ETL, like people
Mhm.
like, "I've never done that before," right? It's all in context of the job. So it's sort of a getting it in the terminology that people understand and they can, so that it seems more approachable, has been a lot of the trick these days.
Yes, I agree. I agree. In that Excel spreadsheet, it's just interesting how many organizations are still using Excel spreadsheet. I mean, I even use Excel spreadsheets, but just being able to put it in there and take care of some of that work for you, that's a quick, easy win because everybody's doing data prep and spreadsheets.
Well, it's funny if you look at companies like Smartsheet, or like there's a ton of them where they finally stopped fighting with people about the spreadsheet look and feel. They just decided that if that's what people were comfortable with, let's build database functionality on that view instead of forcing people away from that view. Because you truly get more done in what you're in the view you're comfortable with. So it's a
Mhm.
great place to start. Caden, thank you so much. That was such a great demo. Thank you for your time this morning. I hope this has been educational for everyone, and I hope it's helped you to understand that there are approachable ways to take on really big organizational problems and get somewhere really fast with them using platforms like this to clean up the data, to train AI, and to create AI products. Thanks everyone for joining us. Come back for the next one. It's all about the hardware.